Hello, hello.
Hey there.
How are you doing, Ken?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I am doing well as well.
Cool. What was your day like?
Um, it was interesting to say the least. Just a lot of I spent most of the day on the phone with various members of my family. There's lots of baby kittens at my grandma's house and baby gophers at my aunt's house, and it's just been a day of everybody having lots of baby animals around them.
Yeah. Like,
Tis the season.
okay. Yeah, and that's not a stand-in for something else going on. There are actual gophers around.
No, no, no. There are literally gophers, like baby gophers in.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I thought you were serving up some, what do they say?
No, not some like really deep metaphor
Allegory.
there.
It's like, wow.
Yeah,
Baby
yeah. No,
gophers.
no actual literal gophers. They were underneath. My aunt and Colby's dad share a yard, so there were baby gophers underneath Colby's dad's shed, and she wasn't sure what to do about them.
Okay.
So, yeah, gophers. That was my day. How
Okay.
was your day?
Well, I've been sitting in this room for about 10 minutes listening to the of a mouse running in the ceiling.
I wonder if you got some baby critters in there too.
For sure. Yeah, we get our share of field mice here, whatever they call them. But normally it's a winter thing, and then they head outside. But for some reason, they're quite content to be hanging out in the house.
Time's a little wibbly wobbly. I'd believe it if you told me it was still winter time.
Yeah.
We just had snow like a week ago.
Yeah. So you got your business taken care of with family folk today?
Yeah, and it was really nice to just talk to him because I hadn't like stopped and like had a nice long conversation in a while. And it wasn't about anything super important, but just, spending that time with my family, even if it's over the phone, was like a really, really nice thing.
That's good. Yeah, I've observed for myself that conversations with those closest to us, to me, often reveal for me places where, oh, I could do better, maybe, or you could see, I
Yeah,
see the
I
old
mean,
habits. Let's just say.
yeah, I know for me that like a lot of the putting the expectation, like I put a lot of expectations on everybody, and that included my family. And actually, just like, having a conversation about what's going on for them and listening to them was just like a very big difference from what I had been doing. And it was nice to hear from them.
Yeah,
Um, Even if it is about baby gophers and kittens. I mean, they were cute, so but it was just like it was nice to just have like a genuine conversation without pouring like all kinds of drama into it. I
wow,
didn't need to be there.
that sounds good.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, everybody's where's the drama?
Yeah, they're used to that with me. But just having a nice conversation. I think my grandma was very surprised because when she asked me how I was doing and what's going on for me, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm really good, because she's not used to hearing that from me. What she's
Yeah,
used to hearing is like, oh, I got this problem, I got that problem.
Yeah.
lots of bitching, but it's nice to like, be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm doing good. And
Yeah. Well, the are you aware that the words are never the thing ever?
no, right. It's like what you're actually doing with those words. And for me, it's like the bitching about whatever was wrong with my day was the feel sorry.
Yeah. In the float center, especially given the susceptibility to being in there day in and day out, talking with people who are coming out of that delta state. That's a occupational necessity. But then I guess it raises the question: well, why is it an occupational necessity? Like, what? Why? I've, well, because we influence each other. We're program writing machines, and we self program and we program others. So it's pretty handy to pay attention to what it is that the communication is trying to make real. Wouldn't you say, Lenore?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because it's like when for me it's like when all I'm trying to make real is feel sorry for me, it's like when I was at Art of Floating, it was like if I talk to someone from that place, it's like they just came out of the tank and they're trying to figure out where they're at. So if I'm talking to someone with that feel sorry, it's going to bring them into like, oh, it's going to bring them over to that point instead of them actually being able to look at what was going on for them.
Maybe we could say that a little differently. Let's see. I think I know
Okay.
what you're saying. So, if that's what you're doing, then that's what you're selling.
Right. Yes.
You're selling "feel sorries for me," and it doesn't matter what the words are,
Mm-hmm.
which is an interesting kind of way to think about it, because most people think that the communication's in the word. It's not. It's remember our upside down pyramid. It's not in the words, but the time it's up there in wordland, it's already been through all the various layers beneath that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
when you're doing that, like, well, when you're being one with yourself and finding that harmony and going over there into the other half of the playing field with the do, it's like it's like it's giving them a chance to do the same thing, because you're standing somewhere for them where they can see, oh, this is another way of looking at it.
yeah, yeah, that's when you're in a float center, or when you well, say when you're in a float center. I was going to say when you also practice these concepts, these shamanic concepts. Um, you learn how to well, you learn how to be aware, how to pay attention to what you're making real through your communication and what somebody else is. So if I'm as a float facilitator or over on the right side of the playing field, and there's someone who doesn't show a value in themselves, um, that that thought then is going to affect what they can make real. In fact, they're probably selling that. I'd say that would be part of their communication. If they think they're not worth anything, then their communications are seeking to continue to make that real. But they can't see it. But what I can do, what you can do is you can direct your communication to give them a way to see that, give him or her a way to see that, kind of a bridge out. It's almost like, hey, meet me here. You know, I mean, can you really agree with someone, Bree, that they're not that they don't have value? I mean, you
No.
could.
I mean, I could, but that
Would
wouldn't
you?
be.
You know, would you
I mean,
want?
that
Would you want me as your friend to do that?
no,
You
not at
know, I
all.
mean, but yet, like most of my definitions of friendship that I brought with me were all pats on the back and you're doing okay. You're doing okay was really for me a stand-in for keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
Not a very helpful thing to do. So what do you do? What's what's a person to do now that they're learning these concepts? I mean, I think first thing to keep in mind is that this is not the kind of communication, the definition of what most people think it is. Yeah, I told him that. Yeah, we talked. I said my piece. He said his piece. That, that would be something like most people's definition of communication. But that ain't what we're talking about because communication does shit. It gets stuff done. It creates a reality. Look, let me say it this way. I think in a prior episode we made reference to this YouTube video that I think is called Reality Code, or if I'm getting it right. And it starts off with talking about crystals. It starts off by describing, it's basically trying to describe what reality is. What is it really? It goes into like, what are the building blocks of reality? And in the course of this 20 to 30-minute video, they talk about how the building blocks of reality are information. And then they go into this piece here where they kind of play some scientists against each other and in a kind of a cartoony way. And some scientists saying, no, it's not, it's energy. And the other ones say, no, it's information. And no, it's energy, no, it's information. But it's pointed out that, energy is information. So if you think about it that way, you can think about how what we do with communication is we exchange energy. Or you could say what we do with communication is we exchange information, like the building blocks of reality. But remember, the information is not in the words. So if you're going to build shit, I'm going to, make sure the information I get across is deliberate to what I want to create and to put enough oomph and energy into it so that, I got the right hammer to do the job. That is a way to think about the kinds of communication that we're talking about here. If something changes, well, there's been a communication. If nothing changes, no. Don't give me the bullshit that you just, that you said your piece. I told him. He didn't listen. Well, then it wasn't communication. You didn't make it stick. You didn't get your point across. You didn't make sure the other person heard the point. You didn't make sure that they were even able to hear the point. That's not for me to do. Well, then you're not fucking communicating, you know, if you're not going to, you know, if you're going to deal with shit and do real shit and create things and want to improve where you work or how you get along with your significant others, then these are some pretty handy things to pay attention to. What do you think of them apples? What do you think? Lenore, Bree, Pam, Ralph?
I think the communication thing is you got to be clear on, you know, like we were saying. So it's like, you know, when it's one-on-one, that's one type of communication. But then all of a sudden, when you're 1-on-5, you got to be real clear with your communication, because in some way, I feel like your triangle gets heightened a little bit. You got to communicate to 5 people, make sure they understand, make sure they're going to tell you back what you told them, and then they could explain to somebody else.
Well, that is the standard. That if it gets through, if the communication lands on the other end, then the receiving end, by definition, for it to be a communication, would have to be able to turn around and say that same thing to yet another person. Which, if you're going to go about business or anything you do, that kind of says where the onus is on communicating. If I'm going to say something, why say it? If I'm not going to say it in a way that the point gets through. And if I'm not doing that, you can bet there's a B1 issue there. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm not big enough. How can I say that? What if they don't? And all of the various excuses du jour we've been hearing on these patio chats. So it, I don't know that I'd say it so that it's a clarity issue, as much as it is the fact that these 3 concepts that we've introduced, be one, harmony, and do, go together. They're a set. They're operationally connected together.
What comes to mind for me is when you hear a mom put on her mom voice, and you know for sure what she means when she's telling you to knock that off or get over here or whatever that is. Like, you know what she's communicating there.
Yep. You can tell the difference between yo, no, and come on, little Jimmy, come on, you should put that down. You really should. Little Jimmy never listens to me. I tell him over and over again. Words are the same, but you recognize everybody recognizes that the actual communication is different. You guys with?
Following.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also reminded of what I used to call my customer service voice. That was like really fake and high pitched, and just like this, I'm gonna make you feel good. Like there's a very there's a very big difference between a communication that's just to please people and a communication that's getting something done. And the mom voice, I think, is like the one that like all of us have witnessed at one point or another in our lives, that like, you know, and it's like a mom actually can communicate that with a look. It doesn't even need to come out of her mouth. Like, she can communicate that because it doesn't because it's not about the words or what she's saying or how she's saying it. Like, she's communicating that.
Yep.
I think
seen
yeah,
that look.
I think we've all seen that look from our moms, that like you fucked
Yeah.
up when you see that look from your mom.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Not even for a second. There's a lot of oomph in there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call the oomph intent. So where do you think intent fits in with this whole communication thing?
Have to stop and think about that one for a second. Well,
Okay.
the intent is what you're actually communicating and doing with the communication, because it's like the intent behind a mom voice is like, or the mom look is, you better knock that shit off. And the intent behind like the customer service voice is, I'm here to please you. I'm here to make you feel good. I'm here to pat your back. It's okay. Like, the intent is what's really driving it, right?
Well, it's like it's like an energetic value. It's like it's like a voltage, in a communication.
Like the charge.
I really think that you're not understanding what I'm saying here. Has a certain kind of intent behind it versus making your point, so that if you're going to make a point, make your point. And the point about intent is that it's the energy, it's the force behind it.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's also been like on these calls, I've seen a couple of places where like I'm trying to put words to things and I'm fumbling a little bit, but you're still able to understand what it is I'm trying to say and maybe make it a little more clear for everybody else. But it's like the intent was still there with what I was trying to say. So even though my words were a little fumbled and a little jumbled up there, you could still you still knew what I was getting at, because it was the intent behind it, not the actual words coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, hey, John Worthington, can you come on and I've got my question for you is what function does intent serve in communication? And I think it's like a modulation, a force of turn up the voltage thing.
Why are you saying anything at all?
Why?
What's the reason that you're saying it?
If you don't want to change, if you're not changed,
whenever you say anything, what you're doing by definition is that you're selling something.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just take Lenore here for a second. Lenore, what are you selling, kid? Don't get all guilty. I mean, Christ, I know everybody sells stuff, kid. You're no different. So.
Yeah. Sorry, had to move my cat. I think so. Like,
so you're not sure what you're selling, huh?
Well, no. I think what I'm selling is that I know what I know and I know how I know. So
Yeah,
when
but
I'm
you're telling me what you know and you're not telling me how you know it. You're telling me that you know and you're standing on that and so forth, but you're not offering me anything to hang on to, kid. You're just saying that you know this stuff. So
okay.
I'm not telling you to feel all bad here now. I'm just asking you to take a second and look at the idea that you're trying to sell something as we speak, right?
Mhm.
And that's fine. I'm not against you selling whatever you want to sell. Okay, I'm good with that. What I'm not good with is that when you don't know what it is that you're selling, because that sounds like what you're doing is trying to get approval, or you're trying to get some kind of nefarious something out of an event that may or may not really be designed to give you that thing that you're looking for. So I'm not against you talking to folks and getting this stuff straight in your head or nothing like that at all. For heaven's sakes, no. But I am kind of a little bit against you taking up time just to prove to everybody that you're smart and can talk. But that I know.
Okay. I think
Mm.
I think I'm with. It's
Well, is it that thing? Is that that you don't know what you're communicating, or you do know, but that it pokes at something that you find to be an owie? Ouchie.
yeah, that ouchie thing is the seeking validation thing again, and the look at me, I'm so smart thing. Okay. I think I'm with. I think I see what was going on there.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad to know that you saw what was going on there. Because you see, that's the thing, is you're selling that to everybody all the time, kid.
Yeah.
Well, let's put that into to some perspective, can we?
Okay.
Okay. You know, there's a couple of other people that are on these calls pretty regular. One of them's named Elise Kaminsky. The other one's named Pam. I can't remember how to say Pam. Dubois. Dubois. Do you know those two ladies?
I'd say I know Elise. Pam I've heard from a little bit.
Okay. Well, those ladies have done what you're talking about, and they actually had to 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 put up, or they have to shut up, because they've played in the game with the big boys, and they don't just talk about it, they have to play there. And so I'm wondering if you're aware of what that sounds like when you talk to those ladies, or that they hear you.
Um n-
I didn't tell you to get guilty here, right? I just told you I wanted you to think about this, because sometimes you forget about other people who are listening to you, kid. And it's not that you don't have something to say, it's that you don't couch it in a way that's respectful enough for other people to hear you, which is not your intention. It just comes out that way. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Okay. So I'd like it if you kind of could demonstrate that what you know, but I'd like to be surprised by it. You know what I mean? That way everybody can be surprised by how smart you really are, because you are a smart kid. But you gotta be able to give people reason to believe in you, kiddo. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, people they won't miss, even if they don't have the words for it, the actual communication behind it.
Lenore,
Just
haven't been where you've been. I know it just doesn't move you forward. Staying in that kind of goody two shoes, make everybody happy, please, please like me. None of that ever worked for me. And people can hear it in your voice. It's a kind of a little girl tone that you're trying to sell. And it just, well, it doesn't look good on you anymore. You're grown now. You have to think about what you want to communicate a little bit and why you want it there. And if it's going to help somebody else because you know about that thing that you're talking about. Kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. That kind of clicked in a little bit, because it's like, if I'm paying attention to what I'm saying, like,
That whole song and dance is really a pretty bitchy way to communicate with somebody else. You're not being fair to the other person or respectful. I think you can do better than that, Lenore. I know you can. You've been through some hard things and you got through it, and I know you can do better and talk from, where you learned something.
yeah. Yeah, because it's yeah. I think the biggest part I was missing there was other people.
Well, yeah, there are other people in this world that you have to get along with. And it's easier if they know who you are and what you're about, instead of the tippy-toey tap dance that you're doing. I get a picture in my mind of a little girl at a recital in her tutu.
Oh, that's way too accurate.
You tap dancing faster and faster, but we're really not enjoying the performance.
yeah.
Okay.
Time to put your big girl pants on.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh wow, that was extremely accurate.
You're laughing because it's a silly image, but that's what you're portraying. That's what we're seeing and hearing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's hard to take you seriously that way.
Yep.
Yeah. What was making me laugh was that, like, that is like literally what I did as a little girl. So it's like, it's so accurate because it's what I'm carrying now.
Yeah, but it that outfit doesn't look good on you now.
Yeah, your butt's a lot bigger now than it used to be, kid. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but that's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah. That tutu might fit over like one leg.
That leaves a lot of hiney hanging out.
Instead of a 2-2, it's like a 2-4 now.
Pam, is this something that you've worked through, you've addressed?
Well, I think something that I'm cluing into is, you know, the presence of the other person. You know, it's not just the words you're saying, but the effect that you're creating, so that you're recognizing that you're present there for the person that's listening. So it's not just the words that you're saying, but what the intent behind it that you're trying to get across. It's about being present with the other person, that you're communicating honestly.
Yeah, and it's a more accurate way to say it. What are you trying to make real? Real, you know? I mean, if you're dancing around in a tutu and, you know, wanting people to say you're really cute, then well, that's what you're selling.
Yeah, right.
And you know, no matter how you dress it up or what, you know, pretty pose or lipstick you put on it, those communications are driven from the level of belief. Be one, harmony, and do go together as a unit.
Yeah, of course.
Pam,
Right.
I don't think you can run a landscaping business in a tutu.
I don't know. That sounds very creative, though.
Hey Pam, I think you should give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'd do it for you, but you know, send pictures. I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Most of them.
Oh.
You too.
Would turf.
All right. Will do.
Such an evil woman, I'm telling you.
Good, cool. Who else wants to play here? How about you, Bree? Brianna. You out there?
Hey, I'm out here.
And any of this resonate with you?
Yeah. Um, it's like similar flavor to Lens, but it looks more like that validation thing. But it's definitely tied with the value aspect for me, because there was an argument I had with my mom that she brought up again today with me. That I had with her because I was annoyed that people were asking me about things at work. And I was like, why do they keep asking me for these things? Like, why would I know these things? Why would I know this and that? This is a couple months ago, actually. And she's been like, you know, why do you think they ask you these things? Of course, I was like, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. And it's only been recently we started talking about, well, because people actually want to hear what I have to say. And they value that.
Yep.
That's been going around in my mind, so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody's. I'm not going to mind hearing what you got to say.
Well, what kind of things do you have to say, or is it important for you to say to people? You're going to communicate about.
That is the question. That's the question I've been asking myself all day long. that goes back to the, what is my message, basically, I think.
Mhm.
So what do you want to tell folks, kid? What do you want them to know? What did you do in your life that you want people to know about?
Hmm. Well, it, let's see if I can actually put this into words. What keeps coming up in my head is actually a conversation that I had with you, John. I think I asked you, like, why are you talking to me at some point? And you're like, well, because you're here in front of me.
Yeah, that was funny. I couldn't get rid of you.
Yeah, it's really hard to get rid of me.
That's been my complaint with you for a long time.
Yeah, I keep coming back around.
What can I tell you?
Well, that sort of begs the question, though. How come? What
I like it here. I do. Uh, I think it started as, well, with my mom, and then it was like, okay, well, with the boyfriends, all right. Well, it's like everything just keep taking away those excuses for being here, and I'm like, I'm still here, still want to be here.
Yeah, I know. And why is that, kid? What is it you want to tell people? I mean, I'm not arguing with you that you have something to say.
Yeah.
What I'm arguing with you about is I wish that you'd say it, because I think you got plenty to say. I don't know what it is that you're going to surprise everybody with. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to like it.
It's oh man. I keep coming back to these words of nitty gritty for some reason. And it's like, yeah, life is those things. Is all those sad, tremendously beautiful moments that make us who we are. And it's like embracing those things and just being those things and owning those things. And
Well, kiddo, that's what you've done, isn't it?
yeah.
So can't you tell? I think you can tell that story. I think that you've earned the right to tell that story if you wish.
Yeah. Because I don't look at things like, like people, for just like take death, for example, I guess. I think me and John, it was a conversation you and me had actually about how I view death as like, it has a beauty to it. It's something I had to admit to myself recently, that like, because I saw my dad in his casket when I was really little.
Mhm.
And the one part I kept refusing to look at was that I thought it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like those things, those nitty gritty things that matter, that actually matter.
Yeah. But kiddo, the thing is that you got to keep it, you can't go dark with it, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you got to remember this, that the perception of beauty is a moral issue.
Right. Yeah.
And you got to keep it straight in your own mind, kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something I was thinking recently, because, obviously I do enjoy like the darker aspects of things, and I'm, always kind of curious because
I'm looking at your picture.
but it's like that doesn't really get the point across,
How
though.
about that?
It's like a way to hide, I think,
I think it's called an evasion in program theory. We could check with Paul, though.
Yeah, definitely be more accurate.
That's dead on.
So kiddo, what are you evading? That you turned out
Oof.
okay? That in spite of all the shitty things that happened to you throughout your life, that you're still a pretty good, you got your flaws.
Sure.
Slow.
Yeah.
But flaws and all, and warts and moles and pimples and all that other shit. You're still you, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Well, I wish that you could agree with that and just accept that that's who you are, and you got something you're gonna do, and then relax and start doing whatever it is that you need to do next, whatever the next thing is. But you got to start someplace, kid.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get started, then we can talk about where you're headed, I guess, huh? But you got to back the car out of the driveway if you're really going to go on a trip.
Yeah, and not knock the bumper off like I did before.
That's a Chinese saying, as an old Chinese guy said that.
Journey of whatever. How does it go? 1,000 miles starts with a step or something.
Yeah, something like that.
He didn't say that. He said if you're going to go to Florida, you got to back the car out of the driveway.
Yeah. My grandfather said that, and my grandfather, because they all lived in Florida.
Well, maybe I had the ethnicity wrong. Maybe it was an old Jewish
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
That must have been what it was. Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Well, I can't keep things like this straight.
Yeah. Me have experiences. Okay. Well, what's that? That's potentially a playbook. I mean, it's an essential part of knowledge.
It's what we talk with.
We talk with our experiences.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And so we have to be honest with ourselves. We actually have to do that thing so that we can talk about our experiences and talk with them.
Do that thing.
Yeah. Well, let's take like the George and Jesse event, for instance, when they're saying that what they are is gay, not human, as opposed to being human, for instance, then they can never allow themselves to have those kinds of experiences. Everything has to be filtered through the gay lens.
Yeah.
Well, for women, it's worse than it is for gay men, I think, because for women, oftentimes they have to sort it through the lens of, we just got to vote, or I don't know if we can really trust each other or not. I mean, are we being silly here, or are we just being women? Are we just being the girls, or are we selling our beauty? There's all those kinds of things that women have to struggle with. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't mean that any of that really affects anything that they do, really. It's just a struggle for them because that's always on their minds rather than what it is they have to get done.
Yeah. And I think you'd say it it makes it harder, more difficult to get done, to get it done, because, well, I think because that's all that, if that's all that you allow, if all you allow is, if you're selling it, you don't have value, then
Well,
what do you get done?
okay, let's take Jenny and Vanessa as examples at the moment. No matter what they want to do, their first priority is to take care of these little kids.
Yeah.
Okay, they have to do that. And so what they're figuring out is how do they have value in spite of having this anchor around their neck called a little kid. Well, it's actually somebody hanging onto your ankles is what it is instead of at your neck. Well, sometimes they hang onto your neck, but mostly they hang onto your ankles.
Okay.
And you get to drag them around the house when you clean them. They're good They're good for dusting floors that way. Other than that, they don't really do much. But the thing is that they're really caught with how do they express their value, because that kid requires all kinds of attention. What they haven't realized is that's the same attention that their clients their clients require,
Yeah.
and it's at the same damn level of thought.
Yeah.
It's like if you're talking to that kid, you're talking to the rest of them. You're talking to anybody and everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I'm thinking about that. The very experience that people put a charge on of, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So this is me, or I've got, is the very place where the strength is too, where you've got something to talk about.
Yes.
Because you're doing something.
Okay. When you communicate, what happens is that it does something. Okay. For instance, if I say, "Hey, get up from there," that's going to do something more than if I say, "Hey, get up from there."
Mm-hmm.
Both things may actually have exactly the same end result. However, how they deliver their message is much different. Well, it's notably different. And so the thing is that we don't pay attention that we paint everything with these ideas that we call emotions. And we use that to communicate just as much as what we use words. We use facial we use facial features to communicate as well. There
Yeah.
are a number of body posture is a communication skill.
Yep.
All of these things go together, and they work perfectly fine if it is that we're not trying to control them.
Okay. I think.
Well, let's take a second on that. If you go back and you listen to what Bree was saying, or you listen to what Lenore is saying, what you'll hear is you're hearing them almost ask permission to speak.
Yeah. I think you'd say that that's a control. That's a try to control.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They're not free to say what's on their mind. Now, is that because they need to still be disciplined, or is that because they don't really have anything on their mind, or is that because what's on their mind is not well formed as yet? Do we know? Do they know? I think those are all things that we have to consider in terms of any communication becoming a do. Is what's going to actually take place with this? You've told several stories about people who come in for contracts, and what you had to do with them wasn't the contract that they asked for, but it was to give them a contract, even if the contract was for them to say, "I quit."
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Well, I don't know that we've actually covered this do function concept, maybe, but you'll have to check to see yourself, I guess. It might be interesting for somebody to look up in Funk and Wagnalls or somebody's dictionary to see how many definitions of do there actually are. There's a bunch.
Yeah, I haven't checked that, but I would be surprised.
Yeah, I can't remember who. It might be the unabridged English dictionary or something like that. But there's a lot of definitions for the word do in English.
Yeah.
And it covers a lot of concepts.
Yeah, it does, which I suppose means that like any words, it covers potentially a lot of concepts and how am I using it? What in particular do I mean by communication? And what are we really talking about here when we say communication is the tool, a tool? Well, why is it a tool? Because, well, you can.
Well, I don't think that people understand that communication makes a demand that we have for action, or makes a call for action. I don't think we really understand that.
Yeah, I don't think so either, and I can say that because of the amount of time that I spent considering that. I think even teaching introduction to the art of rewriting workshops and having as part of those workshops laying out each and every time a definition for communication, the exchange of information, and then a definition for information. And only more recently thinking to myself, whoa, this is really interesting. John Lilly has a definition of communication and information that is different than what I always thought it was, its ordinary meaning. And the difference in particular can be characterized as an activity, a demand.
Yes, because there has to be an exchange for there to be a communication, doesn't there?
Yeah. Otherwise, what do they say? Two ships passing in the night without that exchange.
All right, so in music, it's called call and response, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In other words, there's a call and there's a response, and that's how jazz and blues and much of music is put together, a call and response. The thing is, though, is that in communication, we also have call and response. We have the necessity for someone to respond to us, or that we don't have communication, and we can gauge that by whether or not they're interested in exchanging information with us or not. That's how we gauge it, actually.
Yep.
Okay, so talking cannot possibly ever be thought of as communication, because it's only a one-way thing. Communication has to be two ways, which means that the other person has to tell you what they believe by what they do.
The other person to tell you what they believe by what they do.
Yes.
That's the call and response. If I'm serving you a tennis ball, you're going to tell me what you believe by what you do when you hit the tennis ball back.
You're going to know what I believe by how I return the tennis ball, right?
Yep.
You're going to know whether or not I really know how to play tennis, or whether you'll know my level of expertise, all kinds of stuff, simply because of what I do with that response.
Yep. Or even if you want to play tennis.
Any of those.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things would be immediately visible through the response, or the return communication.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's true.
I suspect suspect that that probably is a deeper hole in the ground than what we can explore for the next 37 seconds.
Yep, that is true, but we can continue it tomorrow. And even then, we'll be scratching at some surface of something that, well, these concepts and things we're talking about have a depth, a breadth, and a width. I don't know. I'm of the opinion that when you deal with abstractions and things, whatever they are, that it's near, if not infinite, in terms of how big it can get or the depth that it can have. And I say that because new insights still open up to me in places where you could think that having spent 10 years doing this work, that it'd be like, got that down. And I don't.
Maybe, and maybe it's just simply a matter that one day you wake up and you say, I can't deny myself anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yep.
Whatever that is,
Yeah.
And it's like I don't think that there's a good or bad or right and wrong or a timely or untimely kind of thing. It's just like I think that life is such that you prepare for this thing that you're going to do, whether you're ready to prepare, whether you're aware that you're preparing for it or not. And I think that you end up doing that thing, and maybe it's in the last years of your life, maybe it's in your whole life.
Yeah.
But you end up doing it.
Yeah, I think it's right. And maybe both those things. If I know how to hit a baseball, I'm going to go hit baseballs and take my shots in the batter box. The kind of thought that, well, I know how to hit a baseball, but I don't think I'm going to belong in the batter's box because maybe I'm not the best I could be at it, is a very silly thought. Might as well, strut your stuff, and how else are you going to be strutting it better next year or tomorrow or next season?
Well, I think it's like this. Michael Jordan, they ask him, who, if the game's on the line and you got to make a point, who do you want to take that last shot?
Yeah.
Michael said, me.
Yeah.
Question. I'm going to take that last shot. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's going to do it. I'm going to live or die by what I do right here, right now. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. That's communication.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. What is the intent of your communication is something that's part of this doingness of do function, right? What's the intent of what you're doing? Is your intent shallow? Is your intent, does it have depth? Is it just about you? Is it about you and yours? What's it about, really? What's your intent about? These are important concepts to decide where it is you're going to play, what you're going to play, what you're going to set up to be in your life, etc. These are important things for anybody to consider.
Yeah. Would you say, Michael Jordan example, that intent in that example functions at a difference of, I'm going to take that last shot versus, well, yeah, okay, if you pass me the ball, I'll take the shot. And
Michael said that his intent was to win. I mean, that can be defined in basketball because you want to win this game, you want to win this season, you want to win this playoff. That can be defined that way. In business, it's much more difficult to define a win from that perspective, because a win has to be socially interactive.
Yeah, has to be socially interactive.
Well, let's say that you're Amazon. That your business has to be socially interactive, or Google or Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has to be socially interactive. That's so that it works, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's how business is. It has to be socially interactive. At what level do you want to do that?
Intent.
Yeah, that's the intent.
Yeah.
At what level do you do that? Ralph's talking about here the other day. Okay, I got these 3 restaurants. I got to look at other things. Yeah, he does. He owes it to himself. He's got to look at those other things.
Yeah.
Does he want to do that or not? I don't know. Does he want to change everything he's doing and take what he's learned here and apply it at another entire different level that no one else can even fucking see except him? Who knows? I mean, that's kind of what you're doing with what in a way.
Yeah. It's a question of intent.
I think that Pam could probably be getting bored with doing the same old thing, same old thing, same old thing. It sounds like Lenore is. And that happens with us, right? We get to do something and we get to do it well. We say, okay, you know what? I can't do this any better than what I'm doing it. Nobody can do it any better than I am. They can do it as well as I can, but better, no. I define that. It's like listening to Oscar Peterson play piano. Yeah, nobody can do it any better. That's as good that style's ever going to get. We're done right there. Or listening to Eric Clapton play guitar. Okay, we're done. Okay, that I got it. That's how you play guitar. Okay, so, all right, now I understand. Everybody else, yeah, you're second.
Yep.
Okay.
A nice try.
But I mean, I got it. I mean, that makes sense to me. See. But it's still that same thing. It's still that you have to have that kind of confidence in yourself, because that's who's going to get this done. You, not somebody else. And you're the one that intends that communication that gets it done, no matter what it is. I think we could spend some more time on that one, Ken.
I think so too. And why don't we do that? We'll pick this up tomorrow and we'll continue to do function.
All right. How about we?
Good night, y'all.
Night.
Good night.
See you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Night.
Thanks.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Later.
Night, guys.
Night.